Welcome back. Today we're going to continue working on the entryway. So now that the porch post frames are raised, I was able to get the rafters connecting the porch post frame to the main entryway. So now we have those rafters extending about 26 feet from the tip of the porch all the way back to where they connect to the roof. I'm going to start with the ladder box eaves, same way I've built them around other parts of the house. I put spacers in the ladder boxes every 2 feet so that I can get a good connection to the rafter itself. And then I make sure and put blocking between the last rafter and the next one back to it to give that last rafter some good rigidity. And then finally, I'll put, aside from nailing all the way down, I'll also put in 6-inch GRK structural screws. At every point, there is a spacer as well. That coupled with the fact that we're using 3/4 inch decking on the roof provides really good strong connection all the way around and would not expect it to sag over time. So now I've got the ladder boxes built on both sides up to about the same point, and then I measured and built and brought both of these last sections up, one for each side. That will allow for the subfascia on the front to meet the side of the ladder boxes on either side. They extended out just a little bit more than I wanted to. I think just because of the nature of trying to clamp the ladder boxes together, you lose a little bit of space. And so these are about an 1/8 inch proud of where I wanted them to be. So I just trimmed them up with a jigsaw just so that that fascia board would be nice and flat across the front of that porch. And at the front, where the porch frame is, at the top of those rafters, it's about 15 feet. So I'm about as tall as I can get with my scaffolding there. But that helped me get the final two pieces of ladder eave on, and then I'll come back and do that final piece of front fascia once I get some of this roof decking on, because it'll just be easier to do it from the top rather than trying to do it from the bottom. With the additional 8 sheets of 3/4 inch decking that I need to complete this entryway, that'll put the whole roof at about 66 sheets of 3/4 inch decking. So yeah, pretty happy with it. They say you can get away with 1/2 inch. That's the code. The architect called for 3/4 inch, and it's just honestly not that much more money. It takes a little bit more time. It's a little bit heavier to sling around, but it's just going to provide some additional structural integrity to the house, and it's just another place that I feel like we've overbuilt the house a little bit, and for the long term, that's exactly what we want. One thing that was nice is that the width of this entryway roof is about 11.5 feet, which meant that for each row that I needed for deck sheathing, I could use one full sheet and then just cut the other sheet in half with 2 4-foot sections and then lay them out, and then I'll just trim them off later and let them overhang for now. And as it happens, I'm doing this on a Saturday, and Justine joined me in the background there with one of our dogs, and she's planting some bulbs up on the hill, and we'll just keep planting those year after year, watch them grow. We'll definitely put a couple of trees up there as well, probably more than a couple. But yeah, we're starting to think about things like landscaping, which is very exciting. I've been wanting to get this entryway done and this last piece of roof decking completed so that we could get our roofers in here to put the final roof on. I did hire a company to come in and put on the roof. They're going to use steel, or we're going to use steel. We're going to have a black steel roof. And we're still working on the siding, but we have some pretty good ideas on that as well. But this was really the last thing that we needed to do so that we could really get the house dried in. Once this roof is on, I'll be working on getting the rest of the windows in that aren't in yet, and then we'll be fully dried in and we can start scheduling the electric and the HVAC to come in. The plumbers have already come in and done the rough in, so they're going to come back actually right before the roofers come to drill in the vent pipes through the roof, so those will be ready for the roofers. So a lot of things coming together once we can get the house fully dried in. So now I've got that final piece of subfascia on, and I'm just putting on the final pieces of deck sheathing. Yeah, this one overlaps enormously, which is kind of funny. It was just easier, honestly, to put it on, and then when I come back and trim it, which is what I'm doing right now, it'll just fall away. So no reason to cut it twice. This is pretty simple. I just snap a line. I was originally going to use some like half-inch wood vinyl fascia, but I think we're just going to go with a tin that will come along with the roof. So the guys that are doing the black steel roof are also going to do the fascia and soffits. And so I'll leave just a little bit of a projection from the deck to the underlying wall. But other than that, we're just going to cut it pretty clean along all three sides. So it's got a nice profile, and so I can put the roof felt on this as well. But now that I have these two flat roofs coming together, I have to build the cricket or the saddle. And a couple of people have asked me about this. So when you have two flat roofs come together, you need a way to divert the water as it's coming down either flat roof so that it gets out onto the main roof. And so what I'm basically doing here is putting on a mini ridge beam, and that's going to be the top of the cricket, and then I'm going to frame it out like I would maybe a mini gable roof, and that will hold the additional pieces of roof decking that will define the cricket. And once again, I'm building something that I've never built before, so I didn't exactly know how it was going to go. I just kind of knew what needed to happen and followed it from there somewhat intuitively. I'm putting these ribs in every 2 feet, and then I have snapped a line from the midpoint of the mini ridge beam down to the corner of each side of the entryway roof. And then I've similarly done that on the other side of the mini ridge beam back to the entryway roof, and that gives me sort of the diamond shape that I'm looking for. These cuts were tedious because every single one of them was different. Plus, as you're landing it on the roof, you have to deal with either the 1.5 12-pitch roof or the 3.5 12-pitch roof. So there's just a lot of compound cuts and angles in order to get it exactly the way you want it. Here, if you can imagine, when this cricket's done, there's going to be a hot spot. There's just going to be a pocket of air in here that in the summer could get superheated. And so what I did was with the skill saw, I just cut two big square vent holes into the bottom of the roof that I'm building over that will vent into the sort of section of the entryway roof between the house and the entryway roof. And then I'll also have side vents in the triangular side that you'll see here in a little bit. And what that'll do is it'll just allow air to flow, especially on really, really hot days. You would not want to have this completely sealed off because you run the risk of cooking the plywood. It can absolutely curl up and cause damage to the roof. So providing ventilation like that is also something you want to think about when you're doing anything on a roof. And for cutting these pieces of decking, I suppose I could have just measured them and I would have been fine. But the snap line just ensured that the deck was going to fall exactly where I wanted it to. So that seemed easier for me. And that piece of triangular board that I just threw off there is going to come in handy in a little bit. And I didn't even realize it just yet, which is nice. So yeah, what I do is I just put on the whole or a shortened piece of plywood. I nail the ridge part of it first so that it's stable and in place, and then I'll run a snap line from the corner of the mini ridge beam down to the corner of the entryway roof, and then just cut it from there. And that just gives me a really clean, continuous line for what I'm looking for. And that last piece I'm cutting off is the high point of the ridge beam, and from there the water will break in either direction. So now I think you can see as water runs down, it'll break onto the main roof from either side, and it'll do it from the back as well. And then when the roofers come, they're going to put on ice and water shield, and they're going to really go into that detail. So there I just fell off the roof. Well, I didn't fall off the roof. You can see me there looking. My camera fell off the roof. I got a good gust of wind. Here's a slow motion version of it. It's what it might look like if you were to fall off the roof and then land flat on your back and look up and see yourself looking down at yourself and probably expecting you're dead. But all things are good. Camera survived. It kept filming for another 30 or 40 minutes while I was up there. And yeah, fun. So the last thing I need to do before the roofers come is finish up the siding, the sheathing on the framing for where the roof comes together. So got that little triangular piece, and that triangular piece is where I'll have a mini side vent that allows air to breathe, and it actually connects to the underneath of that cricket section that we cut in the holes to earlier. So again, we'll have good airflow, and it's outside of the insulated portion of the house. But this is where I'm at. Thanks for watching. See you next time.